welcome to another episode of the Coach Love Show. Here lately, I have been shining a light on things that we definitely have to deal with, that we shouldn't have to deal with, but they are just a fact of life. The other day, we talked to a young woman who was shot 17 times by her boyfriend's ex-boyfriend's lover, or they were kind of in a love triangle. Tonight, I have the pleasure and the honor of helping you see um, the journey of a family who has a missing loved one. The representative today for the family is Tony Alexander. How you doing, Tony?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good. Now, I love having you on the show because you are an expert and a wonderful mentor to so many people. But my heart does break in having to tell this particular story. Um, how are you and your family handling what's going on?
To be honest, to say that we're handling it is kind of an understatement because every day you wake up and it's kind of like deja vu. Things that you don't necessarily understand. You're trying to move on with your life. I think for me, one of the things that is the most difficult is my father has Alzheimer's. And unfortunately, he's often asking, to see Dre,
Mm,
where's Dre? Every holiday, every birthday, it brings on that emotional feeling of loss, sometimes depression, anxiety, anger, just so
mhm.
many things. So right now, as a family, the only thing we have is each other, and just hoping that we can continue to spread this story and try to get some kind of closure as we come up on 2 years here in October.
Wow, wow. So let's say his name. What's his name?
Andre Moton Jr.
Andre Moton Jr. And how are you related to Andre?
I am Andre's uncle, but I always call him my best friend or my wrestling buddy. But I'm Andre's uncle, and we've always been really, really close.
Hmm. Hmm. And how old was Andre when he went missing?
Andre was 21 when he went missing. So that was October 18th of 2019.
Okay. Now, um, was he prone to disappear?
No, not at all. Andre was the life of any party. He was the clown. He loved family just in general. His little sister Ariana was like his best friend. As a matter of fact, he was actually her first date to a high school
Mhm.
dance. So that's just how close they were and how protective he was of her. But Andre loved family. He loved being around friends, and again, he loved being the center of attention. So for him to disappear was definitely out of character.
Okay. So let's go back to October 18th, 2019, right?
Correct.
Okay. Tell me about that day. What happened?
Wow. That day, and there's different stories to it. But first, I want to say that Dre was very responsible. He had
Mhm.
his own car. He worked a full time job, so very very responsible. But that evening, Dre ended up walking to a corner store. We've gotten different scenarios from the constable. Maybe he went to meet some young female, or the case may be. But this is a route that he took every single day. He would grab a bag of Cheetos or some Funyuns, and a grape soda. So that's just how
Mm-hmm.
routine it was for him. Didn't matter what time of night it was. If it was 2 o'clock and he was hungry, he was just gonna walk to the store. I mean, it was only a couple blocks away. And that particular evening, about maybe 5 or 6 in the morning, um, Andre Sr. Noticed that he wasn't there, and his clothes for work was still laid out across the bed. So, which again was unlike him because he was very prompt for work. You know, um, it was just unlike him, out of character. And so Sr. began to call his phone, just trying to figure out where he was. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the biggest thing that really set off alarm was when he looked out the door and noticed that his car was still there.
Mm.
So that really kind of just rang bells, and you know how that goes. The phones began to go off, and were calling, and just trying to remain calm, thinking maybe he's somewhere with a friend or something to the case may be. And there was no answer. So, which is something we found out a little later. So we called into Harris County, and
Mm-hmm.
they explained that he hadn't been missing 24 hours. Later found out that is no longer true, that we could have reported it at that time. But the part that really was, disheartening is when we were told that he's a 21-year-old and he has the right to disappear on his own because he's an adult. So,
Mm-hmm.
religiously trying to explain to them that this was out of character for him. Finally, he ended up getting a detective to come out, which was 2 days later. Now,
Okay.
now the part that I really want to harp in on is when I told you about Andre's regular walks to this convenience store.
Mm-hmm.
There were times that Andre had been stopped multiple times by a
Mm-hmm.
constable in that area. And a couple days prior to that, he became a little agitated about it. And he spoke to my sister about what was happening. And just as any concerned mother or parent would, she called down to the precinct to, file a formal complaint.
Mm-hmm.
We can't say or tie anything to it, but as coincidence would have it, a couple days after that particular complaint is when Dre came up missing. And so when Harris County came out, and actually the constable, and we filed the report. They did a couple knocking on doors and those types of things, and by 6 o'clock, everything went dead silent. And when I say it went dead silent, it went dead silent for 2 weeks, because come to find out, the particular constable that had been assigned to the case took a 2 week vacation, and Harris County didn't have in the budget, is what we were told, to have anyone else to pick up that caseload.
Mm.
So, as we know, that's always told, the first 48 hours are the most critical. So,
Right.
as a family, we ended up losing almost 2 weeks. Now, we didn't sit on our hands. We were trying to go to T-Mobile and get records, but then you need a warrant for that, and we were trying to ask friends, and we were trying to get the phone pinged. We were trying to break into his computer. Like, we were trying every avenue that we even knew was possible. um, had friends that I worked with in prior jobs whose husbands were police officers, and they gave me a couple things to try, and Dre as well. We went downtown handing out flyers. I mean, we tried everything. And once the officer did return from vacation, and I say this seriously, 2 weeks later, by then there were a lot of issues with trying to get the warrants for pinging the phone. Uh,
Hmm.
And when they did begin to ping the phone, by then it was a little bit too late because the phone by then, one, it had died. Two, it had pinged off two separate towers in the North Houston area, and unfortunately, one of those towers was near a large landfill.
Mm. For those of you just joining us, we are with Tony Alexander, who is the uncle of Andre Morton Jr. He has been missing since October 18th, 2019. He left his home of his own free will to get something to eat as he normally would. His clothes were laid out for the next day. He was a responsible young man, but he never returned home. So, Tony, I understand that you guys went to T-Mobile and you were looking for the phone to be pinged and things of that nature. Since he went to a convenience store, was there footage of him?
There was footage of him buying exactly what we said that he was. The unfortunate part was there was no footage outside of the convenience store. We could see that when he left the store, normally he should have taken a right to go back home, but he ended up making a left. And the only thing
Mm.
that you see from that end is probably 3 minutes later, maybe a black SUV leave, but you can't see anything that happened to the left side of that store.
Mm. Mm. And did the police help you guys get any ring camera footage from homes or anything like that?
If they had it would have been great, but unfortunately, um, we were told that there were hundreds of missing cases in the Houston area. Uh,
Mm.
and unfortunately for Houston or Harris County, there isn't a specific assigned department for missing people. So normally, an everyday patrol officer or constable would be assigned to a missing persons report, and unfortunately, to this day, that still hasn't happened. But it is something that me and my family are pushing Mayor Turner for every single day. We know there's money somewhere there in the budget because people don't just disappear.
So, what does your family believe happened to him? What does your family believe?
We really have a lot of mixed feelings. Just knowing how trusting Dre was, but there's just so much going on in the Houston area that it's unbelievable. And it's kind of like Atlanta as well, where you have this sex trafficking, and
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people don't believe as a male that hey, you can be sex trafficked. And one of the things as we began to look up a lot of the people that were missing in the Houston area. One of the things that came up, and I wish I had the picture with me, but there were three additional young men, light complexion, dreadlocks, who disappeared from the Houston and Humble area at least 2 to 3 months prior to that. That was a cold case, and again, and they looked identical. So it sends your mind into different spirals. Well, if it's not sex trafficking, do we have some kind of pervert out there, or unfortunately, not trying to think the worst, is there some type of serial killer, or what's going on? Like we just need to know. We just want to know at this point, because it's closure. Because every day, you wake up with the exact same hurt. So everyone has their different opinions about what happened. But what I can tell you, what we all agree on, is that there was no justice when it came to getting the story out there, or getting the access to HPD or Harris County constables that we needed as people of color, because we were treated very unfairly and very poor. And I always think back to the 2 weeks of the officer being allowed to take vacation and never notifying us, and yet we continue to call every single day and leave a voicemail, and no one had the decency to tell us that this officer was on vacation and no one was working the case.
Oh my God. That is horrendous. Horrendous. That part of your story in itself is tragic because it makes you feel that what if 2 weeks had not gone by, it might be possible for your family to at least have closure, if not have him back in your arms.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's the part that we all wrestle with and can't sleep with at night because we don't know what could have transpired within those 2 weeks.
Mhm. I'd like the audience to get to know get to know Dre a little bit. Tell me
Okay.
about some of his favorite things.
Dre loves to travel, even though he didn't have a lot of money, but he loves to travel. So family vacations. He loved to go to the beach. He loved karaoke. As I told you, he
Karaoke.
karaoke. As I tell you,
Okay.
um, he was the clown of the family. But what I can tell you, he loved the most, and those were his two sisters. Like he was their protector. I mean, they couldn't go anywhere without him, right?
Wow.
Um, he was very charismatic. Um, he could switch up his look how you wanted. He had the dreads. Um, but again, he was just the life of the party, and he loved to be around family more than anything else. I often go back and look on Instagrams, and I watch the family karaoke videos or the dancing or the million TikToks that he and Adriana would put together. And you makes you wonder, like, who would want to harm someone as genuine as he is, because he had a big heart, a heart of gold, and he would do anything for anyone. And it's just like a missing piece, and I think Ariana said it better. It's just like a whole missing piece of the puzzle, and that's him not fitting in, especially coming up on 2 years, and then about to have another birthday. So it's challenging.
So I'm just asking these questions because I think that the audience might have them. And I just want to clarify. Was he into anything nefarious?
No. And the cops asked us that as well. No, he was straight laced guy. Like I said, he had a full time job where he worked at the local Walgreens in the neighborhood. So his goal was to go to school to either become a nurse or a pharmacist. He hadn't decided yet.
Mm,
So he had those types of dreams that was there. And the reason that I say and we say that he wasn't into anything nefarious, because he was so close with the family. Like, he would rather stay at home and watch movies with mom and dad and sisters than to go out and hang in the streets. And if he did go out, guess what? Ariana was tagging right along behind him, right?
mm-hmm,
uh,
mm-hmm.
he had a couple friends. They might go to a homecoming game or something to that effect. But my sister was very clear what was and wasn't in her house, what the rules were, and so was Dre. So he walked a very fine line, and he knew what he could and couldn't get away with. So
Okay. So he was 21 years old. He worked at Walgreens. Was he in school or not in school?
he was in school.
He was in school. Was he taking his prereqs for something, or what was going on with his schooling?
He was taking his prereqs. Or he was going to grab or get a degree actually in biology that would open the door for either pharmacy school or to become a nurse. So he was taking all of his prereqs at University of Houston.
Okay. What were his grades like?
He was around a 3.4, 3.5, very
Okay.
smart guy. And and just to add to it, all of the customers and patients at Walgreens loved him. Like
Okay.
they were, he because he had this infectious smile, like
Mm,
you just couldn't help. And I think having working in that particular field in Walgreens and within the pharmacy, that helped him to excel in his schooling, as he decided which major or which way he wanted to go.
okay. Now, he left the house to get something to eat,
Yes.
but it was kind of the middle of the night, right? What time
Right.
was it?
It was approximately 3 a.m., about 3 a.m.
Now, was that normal or abnormal for him to do that?
That was pretty normal because he was really big on playing Call of Duty. So when
Okay.
they get a hold of those games, time just kind of goes by. And, he would get up and, hey, he wanted to go grab something to eat. He would just walk down or something to snack on, rather say. Um, and we keep harping on the fact that he was coming back because his car was right there. If he was going somewhere else, he would have driven his car. He wouldn't have just walked down to a familiar intersection that he would do at least 3 or 4 times a week, a night anyway.
Okay. So, do you know what time he had to work the next day?
He had to be at work at 10 a.m. the next day.
Today, 10 a.m. So, from what I'm hearing is he was playing Call of Duty. These kids, they get mesmerized in the games. Okay. He got hungry and he left the house. Normal kind of thing. Did he tell anyone that he was leaving?
He didn't tell anyone that he was leaving. Just some feedback that we received from the sheriff, and we don't know how true it is because they never materialized anything like text messages to us or anything. But when we pushed for the press conference, one of the things came out was, well, he was having a conversation with a female at the same time. So their assumption was he left to go meet the female. Our assumption is that could have been, but according to his regular habits, that probably wasn't the case. He was just going to grab, what he wanted to eat. Because if he was going to meet this female, he would have gotten in his car and driven to go wherever that case may be. So that part of the story just doesn't fit for us.
Okay. So I was curious about his female relationships. Did he have a did he have a romantic partner? Did he have children? What does that look like?
No children. He was a ladies man, I guess is the way to put it.
Okay.
No children. But he dated here and there. But they also, I'll keep putting it back on Ariana, but they had to pass Ariana's test in order to be in Dre's life. So, but he was the normal 21-year-old. It's the best way to put it.
And
Um,
Ariana is his sister,
is his sister? Yes,
his baby sister.
his baby sister. Yes.
She wasn't sharing.
She she don't play. She don't play.
Okay. Okay. How is she now? How is she?
She's struggling because again, he was her best friend. He
Mhm.
was a great role model. Like I said, he took her to her first high school dance. Those things when Dre Senior couldn't do it, or those cases may be. Um, he he was everything to her. He taught her how to drive. So for her, as I always think back to the press conference. She says there's just a big hole in her chest. You know, there's just a big
Mm.
hole inside of her, and so every day she's trying. I try to watch her social media just to kind of see. I don't want to be the snoop, but there isn't a day, not one day that has gone by that she has not posted something about both she and Dre or something, whether it's a TikTok, learning to drive. But she's hurting. She's really hurting.
Mm. You sent me some footage earlier, and I really do want to share this with everyone. I believe this is Ariana who's in the video.
Seeing or
You
heard
correct.
from. Dre's 23rd birthday last November came without a call or a text. Every day that passes is a day without him at home. Any tip, piece of information, or lead from our community may lead us to Dre's whereabouts and bring his family some closure. We're grateful to our partners at the Texas Center for the Missing. Claudia's here, thank you for being here. And Clear Channel Outdoor, Mr. Lee Vela, for making possible missing person billboards across our state this month with the hopes of someone coming forward with key information. You're going to hear from our missing persons unit, our partners, and Dre's father, Andre Moton Sr. as well. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Huston, so that he could give more information. He's the lead investigator. Deputy Huston.
Yeah, I'm Deputy Hudson with the Harris County Sheriff Department Missing Persons Unit. I'm the lead investigator on this case. The case we're here to talk about today involves Andre Moton Jr., which, like the sheriff said, also goes by Dre. Dre was last seen at his apartment on October the 18th of 2019 at approximately 3:30 in the morning when he left the apartment to meet what is believed to be an unknown female. Mr.
I stopped it on purpose right there, Tony, just because the facts are murky. They're a little bit murky to me
Absolutely.
because he said that he was last seen at his apartment at approximately 3:30, but if I understand your story correct, he would be last seen at the convenience store.
Convenience store, absolutely. That's when he was last seen, which was approximately about 3:40 a.m.
Now, this press conference actually took place in 2020. Is
Right.
that
It took us,
correct?
yes, it took us a year to force them to actually do a press conference.
You're kidding me.
No.
Oh my God. So
And
this media attention here is the first media attention that you guys are getting?
yes, 1 year later. And that took polls, and that took networks of people that I knew here in the Houston area that are news anchors. So I want to thank people like Chauncey Glover and Melissa Wilson of Fox 26 and Mike Acosta. I had a relationship with them over the last 10 or 15 years, and I just kind of sent them a text begging and pleading and saying, okay, can you help me put some fire behind HPD? And once the calls began to come in from the news stations, then that's when this all came to play. But it
A
was a year
year?
later, a year.
That's incredible. And so before we listen to more of this video, did anybody correct this guy when it came to the facts? Because the facts matter. Am I looking at the apartment building or am I looking at, the convenience store?
Yes, we corrected him multiple times, multiple times.
And you want to know something? I almost wish someone had a said something like right there on the spot. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play this. Just, knowing the facts and knowing that he's explaining them incorrectly, my blood is boiling. I couldn't just let that play.
Mr. Moton is described to be a 6'2" black male weighing about 155 pounds. He wears his head in his hair in dreads. He is a light-skinned African-American male. I'm going to turn it back over to the sheriff so he can introduce the next speaker from Clear Channel.
Thank you.
As the investigator said,
There's always a piece of information out there that could really help bring some closure to the family. Maybe identifying the person that he went to meet or to talk to, maybe anybody else that may have come or gone from the apartment or even adjacent apartments, anything that may have been, familiar, a possible sighting, anything like that could be very critical information. We also, again, are very grateful for our partners that are here. We have Lee Vela. He's been a longtime partner and supporter of law enforcement and many other issues to make sure we're raising awareness for victims of crime, missing persons, and others. And it's been an invaluable tool. We greatly thank them for everything they do here and across all their different service areas. So Mr. Lee Vela with Clear Channel Outdoor Houston.
Thank you so much, Sheriff. On behalf of Clear Channel Outdoor and Outfront Media and the Outdoor Advertising Association of Texas, we want to tell you how we are committed to get this message out to not only the Houston area, but throughout the state as well. Currently, just in the Houston area, this message is being broadcast, and it's the one you see over here. I don't know if we can bring it over here so we can see it. This message that you see now is being broadcast on our digital billboards, 5 in the Houston area that are just at Clear Channel alone are generating over 500,000 market impressions per month. So you multiply that by other cities in Texas and with the other companies that are involved in this, and millions of people are going to be able to see this message about Andre. Someone out there knows something about Andre's missing situation. And we want people to look at this, see something, call with any information that you might have. And what better place to be is on the roadways of Texas to see the message about Andre, and let's bring Andre home. Thank you.
I think Mr. Vela said it well in closing that let's bring Andre home. Let's make sure that, I could just imagine, putting ourselves in this family's shoes. If a loved one that we had just literally just disappeared from our lives, no more phone calls, no more text, communication of any kind. No one deserves that. This family deserves closure. Whatever that outcome is, we want to know what happened. We want to make sure, ideally, that we can locate him, find out what's happened, if he was injured in any way. And so somebody out there knows some information. And again, that level of impression, not only here in the greater Houston area, with so many people that travel the roadways daily, can be such an important tool for us. And so we want to thank you, Lee, once again, and to the Texas Center for the Missing as well, for always helping out as well with many important, cases that we always like to amplify. But no one.
You on mute.
Sorry, I had to put myself on mute so that it doesn't echo. So and here I go, and I started talking. But is it just me, or does the language indicate that they're making it seem like they're doing everything they can? Right.
Absolutely. And that's the frustrating part for us. Again, we're talking about 1 year later to get a news conference, to get it out in front of people, right? We're talking about allowing 2 weeks to go by where there was nothing done on the case, and you don't want to bring this into, you know, any type of racial divide or anything, but you can't help but to believe if that was someone that wasn't of color, you know, how would this thing have played out differently? You know, we as a family, you know, spent tons of money printing out flyers. We were all downtown Houston in the homeless shelters. We did everything that we possibly could do within our constraints to try to push or try to get an answer. And where it just seems like, unfortunately, the city, and to include the mayor, failed us.
So, if I'm not mistaken, you guys put up some billboards on your own. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And when did you guys put those up?
We put those up 3 months after. So
Okay.
that would have been around January.
And has a search party been um, put together?
Equifax was called, but unfortunately, they said that they wouldn't be able to help because there wasn't enough evidence or information that would give them a proximity or location to where they would be able to search.
So, wait a second. E- you mean Equifax or you mean Equifax? What
Equifax.
is
Yeah, I'm sorry.
what?
EqualSearch.
Okay, Equal Search. What is it? Can you explain who they are and what they do?
EqualSearch is a basically a group of volunteers from that are usually normally retired detectives or police officers, and they specialize in missing people, missing persons cases. So they're very I guess we'd just say very strategic in how they perform the search parties, whether they're looking for someone who's still alive, or unfortunately, if they're looking for someone who's deceased. But they're very famous here in Texas, and has a good stellar record of actually locating people.
Okay, great. Thank you, Vera, for helping us out. It's Equisearch. Okay, thank you. Um, so there, what do they need? What do they need in order for your family to qualify for their help?
Well, I can tell you what would have helped is within those 2 weeks when they were talking about pinging the phone and it having pinged in two different places. And this came directly from EqualSearch. That would have been the time to call them in. But unfortunately, because there was a 2 week vacation and lapse in it, and then the
Mm.
phone died, then they no longer had an approximate location to where they could search.
Oh, wow. Wow. So what they're saying is there is nothing they can do because they don't even know where to look.
Right? It's like a needle in a haystack is basically what they're saying. And that's why, you know, those 2 weeks were so crucial, because that would have been the time where they could have helped us mostly.
Oh my goodness, my heart is breaking. My heart is breaking. Um, I definitely wish we could turn back the hands of time for you, Tony. I'm so sorry.
One could share more about Dre than his family, and so I want to make sure that his father, Mr. Senior, has an opportunity to come up and really talk about this loss. You have a number of relatives that are here, others that couldn't make it today, but they love him, they miss him. We're just pleading with the public to please come forward and support this family today. Mr. Andre Moton Sr., the father.
Hello, my name is Andre Moton Sr., and I want to thank everybody for what they're doing and what they have done so far. Uh, I need him. Our family needs closure. This is very hard. I don't have to let somebody else talk.
Who is Andre? Tell us a little bit about him. What do you miss more about him?
Mrs. Laugh, talking to us, joking around. just everything. On the phone, no problem. Uh, just, just, I need help. We need help. Our family needs closure. I just, it's rough every day. Every day just getting up. It's like sometimes you don't even, I don't feel like doing anything. And it's just thinking about him all the time at work. My family, we, we, we talk about it, but then again, it's just, it's hard. It's hard. It's very hard. So anybody know anything, something, please help us.
Mr. do you want to give an honor of watching right now? Or would you like something else?
I love you. I'll never give up looking for you. I'm doing the best that I can. We're gonna find you. We're gonna find you. I'm not gonna stop.
This family will always have a void until we can find closure. So let's make sure we're. Did you want to something? Just state your name and your relationship.
My name is Adriana Moton, and Andre Moton Jr. is my brother. It's been very hard for me, because I know every time I look in the mirror, I see him in me. It's been so hard. But me and my family have been so strong, and we just want to know something. Because like he said, it's a void that has not been filled. It can never be filled until we find Andre Moton. So if you have anything, any information, please let us know. Like, it will help, like, more than anything, because not knowing anything is worse than anything. Anything that we can think of. Not knowing anything is worse than anything we can think of. And that's
Oh my goodness, Tony. You telling me about their relationship, my heart just hurts for her. My heart breaks. My heart breaks for your whole family, but you've really shown me how close they are. Oh my God. Oh my God. And this was 2020 that you had this. What month is this that you had this press conference?
This was, if I'm not mistaken, May of 2020.
May of 2020. Okay. We're going to get the rest of this out. I had to stop it because her pain is palpable. Her pain is palpable.
that's the worst part. That void that we can't build until we find something out about Andre. So I just want to say thank you for everybody that has been here and supported us along the way. And I'm just so proud of how strong we are, because walking in our shoes is very hard. So thank you.
Just anybody that that views this, please reach out, give us information. You never know how minimal it may be, but that could be something that could be helpful. Investigator, what part of town was this? What apartment complex are we talking about? And about what time did he leave?
It was in Atascocita, and he left the apartment complex at about 3:30 a.m. Like I said a little bit ago, on the 18th of October in 2019. We have done an extensive, a very thorough investigation. This is still a very active investigation. And at this point, like the sheriff and like the family has said, what we're wanting is for somebody. There is somebody out there. Somebody knows something. It could be something very small to you, and it could be something that is a major clue to us. So anything that you think that may help us bring Andre home or bring the family closure, whichever way it's gonna be for them. Any clue that you have, there's somebody out there that has it, and we would encourage you to reach out to the Harris County Sheriff's Department's Missing Person Division at 713-755-7427. You don't have to remember my name. You can just call the number. They will get the information to me so I can follow up on the lead. Thank you for any help that you can offer.
Thank you. And another good number always is Crime Stoppers as well. Should anything else been involved, at 713-222-TIPS, at 713-222-8477. Lieutenant Lovett, would you like to add anything else? Or okay, thank you so much. Okay, any questions for the family or for the investigator? I'll say it briefly in Spanish as well. Estamos aquí esta mañana porque necesitamos la ayuda del público. Hace cerca de un año, este domingo va a ser un año, que el señor Andre Moton Jr., que ve su foto aquí, se desapareció. Vivía en la área de Atascocita, salió de su apartamento y como aproximadamente a las 3:30 de la mañana, ir a conectar con una chica, no sabemos quién era o todo eso, pero al salir ya nunca regresó. La familia no ha escuchado de él, no ha sabido nada. Pasó su cumpleaños el noviembre pasado, no llamó, no mandó mensaje ni nada, y eso es algo muy extraño para él, y queremos que la familia pueda cerrar esta etapa de su vida que ha sido tan difíciles. Queremos que sepan qué pasó con su ser querido, el señor Andre Moton Jr., que hubiera completado 23 años el noviembre pasado. Entonces le estamos suplicando a la comunidad que por favor nos ayuden a localizarlo. También el señor Lee Vela con Clear Channel Outdoors van a poner esos letreros en 5 áreas de Houston y también otras partes del estado de una persona desaparecida. Aquí tiene la foto, el número donde puede hablar, el 713-221-6000. Y le pedimos al público que alguien por favor nos llame. Sabemos que alguien tiene un pedazo de información que nos puede ayudar. Any questions or anything? No. Okay,
I wanted to let that play out in Spanish, although I don't speak Spanish. Someone may speak Spanish, and so I wanted to let that play out. Now, I don't want this to get political per se, but I did want to highlight, because I live in the middle of America, so although border issues affect me, it doesn't affect me in the exact same way that it affects someone who lives right, at the southern border. Is there a problem with, people coming from the southern border and kidnapping people in Texas?
Yes, it's known that Houston specifically does have issues with human trafficking.
So, and how does that work?
It's just unfortunately where people pay people to kidnap people, and the issue is unfortunately it's too easy to cross the border to get into the U.S. So we need more border control. It's and what you find is the statistics will show that these particular people really target cities during really national events. New Orleans is another hot spot for human trafficking through Mardi Gras. So all of those things there, plays a bigger part, because we have people that it's so easy to get into the country and kidnap. And these particular people that they're taking them back with human trafficking, they have particular taste, I guess, per se, is what and I want to put it out there to remove the stigma. When we talk about human trafficking, we're not just talking about female. It doesn't matter your gender, because you have certain things that human trafficking can actually be something that can be used for work and labor. So
Mm.
never think that you're safe beyond it because of the gender. There's just so many things that are going on out there.
I'm glad you explained that because I'm thinking they're kidnapping them, but what is the purpose? So it's beyond sex trafficking. It's for labor purposes.
Yeah,
So maybe it's like modern day slavery.
that's absolutely what it is. Absolutely.
So they're getting put in some kind of like
Like concentration camps is the way that you would look at it.
mm, mm. Oh my goodness, Tony.
I know it, and if that's hard to believe in 2021, but unfortunately, the statistics are out there and it exists.
You know what? It is very hard to believe. It's hard to imagine. We definitely are in a border crisis, for sure. We're definitely in a border crisis. We have to do something. You know, I certainly don't know what the right answer is. Because we have to secure the border. At the same time, we have to keep the dream of America and becoming an American um, alive. You know, so it's a big job. It's beyond my pay grade. It's beyond it's beyond my mindset. Um, but Tony, tell me this. What can we do to help? I know we have this out here. What else can we do to help?
I would definitely say, of course, we have the video out there. We have social media that we use on a daily basis. But any time that you can share a post, whether it's from my personal page or the case may be, because from those particular shares in general, we've gotten some leads that wasn't necessarily him, but it was a lookalike, so that lets you know that, hey, people are looking. And I think the biggest thing, and to take away from this is just in general, just be aware of your surroundings in general, because we don't wish this on any family.
Hmm.
Yeah, there are tons of people missing, not just in the Houston or Texas area, but across America. But just be vigilant about well, where you are and who you spend your time with, and the more that you can share this message or help someone, you're helping us as a family in general.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. And before, I would be remiss if I didn't ask about your sister because she's the mom. Um, but I think she has a particular special circumstances. So let's talk about her just a little bit before we go.
When I say that Ariana is strong, I don't think anyone is as strong as my sister, and
Mm-hmm.
she has struggled with it. And thinking about it, it's her only son.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to that, my father has been ill for some time as well. But I'm glad to see that she is putting herself back out there. And what I mean about that is living her life again. Because unfortunately, she about a month or so ago received some bad news health wise, so that kind of put her back in a slump. But she's a tough cookie. Um, she is prior military, and she has about 50 jumps out of the plane under her belt. So
That's
she will
good.
she will tell you that in a heartbeat. But at the end of the day, I still look at her, even though she's my big sister, I still look at her as my little sister. And I try to make sure that, if there's anything that she needs, that I'm here. And it's one of the reasons that I moved back to Houston about 6 months ago, because I wanted to be able to relieve some of the burden off of her and just be here for her emotionally, physically, or whatever that she needs. And in addition to that, she's raising two teenage girls. So, it's a lot for her, but she is doing well despite all of the obstacles that have come at her over the last couple of years.
So I just want to pack up your sister situation um, really fast because, she is the matriarch in this particular picture. Her son is missing. Um, she's raising two teenage daughters. She is struggling with an illness. Can you share the illness or is that private?
It's got she was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Okay, she's been diagnosed with breast cancer, and is she still married to the dad, or is she single right now?
They're separated.
They're separated. Was it the stress of what happened with their
Absolutely.
son? Okay,
Absolutely.
so now Tony, this is a place of God's grace. Okay, so we are asking our prayer warriors right now to pray for this family, and we are asking for a miracle. You know, Prayer changes things. There's nothing that you can say or do to cause me to believe that's not correct. And so, what we all can do is pray for God's miracles to happen. We can pray God's word over this family. We can pray for her health. We can pray for the connection between the husband and the wife. We can pray for Andre's well being, and we can pray for those teenage girls. We can, and for your dad, for your dad. We can pray for them. We can just, because it feels like a Job kind of situation. I mean, really, this is a lot.
Wow.
This is a lot. Um, but yet, in talking with you, I know that you've been able to find the God in this journey. So tell me how God has been showing up for
He
the
he
family.
he's not only has he been showing up, but he's been showing out.
All right now.
So definitely with everything. I've been fortunate to finally go through my first retirement out of corporate America after 20 years as an entrepreneur. So it allowed me the time to move back here to Houston and be with my family and to be able to provide what they need, whether it's financially, emotionally, physically. He's really elevated my son, who is actually in St. Louis now, who just signed a contract with the Euro League for basketball. So he's doing a lot of good things. And being able to retire, I picked up my encore career. God blessed me with a very lucrative contract to where I have very flexible hours so that I can still center everything around my family and my dad. I was able to move him from Louisiana back here to Houston, here with me. The grace of God to be able to provide around the clock care. So he's showing up and showing out, and I just know if we just keep the faith, I know I'm where I'm supposed to be at that time. And there was a dark time. I can't lie. I didn't know whether I was going heads or tails, but I just know that I needed to lean on him, and I needed my family. And I have been traveling the world or the states for the last 3 to 4 years, and
Mhm.
it had gotten old, and I
Mm.
just knew that Houston was home for me, and I needed to be here. And I'm forever grateful and thankful that that part of my life worked out to where I can be here with my family.
Amen. Tony, God is good all the time, and
All the time, God is good.
amen. Amen. Thank you, family, for watching, and we really do appreciate your prayers. I am honored to be able to share your story and your family story with my audience.
Thank you for having me, and I really appreciate this platform.
Amen. Bye bye for now.